Even with problems in the last race, Mario Goslin has been a guy with all the luck this year, leaving everyone else wondering how they can change theirs.
I've been carrying this Angel Penny all year long. It's brought us real good luck. I need just a little bit more.
10 years ago, a kid come out of his stands to give me this for good luck. I had to bring it out of retirement. I really need it right now.
Taped a full-leaf clover on my dash one time, crashed, took it off.
I don't need a squirrel. I don't need a rat. I got my right foot.
If you ever go looking for the soul of stock car racing, you will probably find it in the hills and the countryside of North Carolina. Seems like every town has its own small track, a place where lessons are learned and legends are born. And tonight, we are at Orange County Speedway in Rougemont, North Carolina. It is host to the Jackaroo Pro Cup Series. And tonight, it's the Miller Lite 250. And just past the halfway point in this series, it has turned into a battle between two cars. This car, the number 10 car of Mario Goslin. He's won 3 races so far. And then there's the number 84 car belonging to Chad Chaffin. So far, he has won 2 races in this series. He had to miss a race, though, and that hurt him. But in the points battle, Mario Goslin, who was doing so well, had a problem in the last race. As a result, he fell out and allowed Chad to catch up in the points. But I got to tell you, these two not only are duking it out on the points today, they're duking it out side by side on the track. They've qualified 1-2, and they are ready to go battling on the track. But there's an outsider ready to pounce if he gets the opportunity. For more on that, let's go up to Ray Dunlap and Larry Rice.
Well, thanks, Rick, and welcome, everyone, to Orange County Speedway. Ready to go racing here with Chad Chaffin on the pole, as Rick talked about. Here's the guy that he's made mention of, Scott Riggs.
Well, he's a local boy, and he's been racing here a long time. He really knows this track well.
Ran the Hooters Cup race here at Orange County earlier this season. Here's a look at the rest of the drivers in the field. Lee Tiss sitting 12th back there, Jerry Rector. Many of the regulars here in the Pro Cup division. A couple of first-timers racing with us this weekend. Look back there, Don Satterfield in 29th and Craddock in 30th. Well, here's a look at the points. Mario Goslin has a commanding lead, and Chad Chaffin with 2 wins in 1997. Now, we've got a great Rookie of the Year battle going, and earlier today, Rick DeBrule asked the drivers that are challenging if it's important to them.
It's very important. I think for, being a first year in a series is, one of the most important things is Rookie of the Year. If you can't get the points championship, that's definitely the second most thing to want to win.
And how do you do it?
Well, consistency. If you can run top 10s every race, I think you're going to be right in there. We've had a couple top 5s, and we fell out a couple races. And Lee Tissett and Jack Moraes, both of them have been consistent, and I think whoever's really most consistent top 5s or top 10s is going to do it.
When you're on the track, do you think about them?
No, you think about everyone. You focus on trying to win the race and not who's in front of you or who's behind you.
So you're not thinking, gee, where Lee is at, where Jack is at, you got that points thing coming up?
No, you just try to think about getting to the front and not messing up.
Well, the importance of it is, at the end of the year, there's an extra $5,000 involved in it. Plus, it's probably maybe a little easier to get a sponsor. And then pulling it off, I just got to finish these races. We can't fall out like we did last week. Actually, we thought it was a distributor and sent the distributor off, and they said, MSD said there wasn't nothing wrong with it, so we commenced to changing everything electrical we could. We just got to finish, that's all. Stay out of trouble.
When you're out there and you're racing, are you thinking about, Jack and Brad and where they're on the track and what your finishing position is compared to them?
No, I just do the best I can. I try not to worry about that. I'm just thinking about winning or finishing the best that I can. I don't worry about the points.
But you need a good finish somewhere.
I need a win today.
Well, it'd be nice if I can make it all the way to the end, because it's something new and that's especially, it'd be nice for me if I can do it. But you never know.
How hard is it going to be to beat those 2 young pups?
It'd be hard, but I think we can do it if we can stay out of trouble.
And Larry, that's really shaping up to be quite a good battle.
Oh, it certainly is. These guys have been running hard all year long. And these last few races are going to make a big, big difference. And he said it best, you got to stay out of trouble and finish.
Well, this race here at Orange County Speedway is the 7th event of 1997. You're on board there with Doc McKinney. The Glowmaster Signs number 50 car. A couple of onboard cameras for you today. Gary Layton will also be carrying a camera on the inside of his race car so you can get a look at what he sees out of the hood of the Tampico Citrus Punch number 74. There we're on board with Layton.
Well, this is kind of a different kind of racetrack. It's something you don't see every place, where the groove is a little bit different spot. We asked Chad Chaffin if he would describe this racetrack to us and tell us what it's like to drive.
Okay, this week we're at Orange County Speedway. For a short track, it's quite unusual. The groove is not really on the bottom. As you go into turn 1, as you can see, the rubber's up in the middle of the track. You go in the middle, you drift up kind of into the upper groove, and then you come off 2 kind of high, way out against the wall. Not much of a back straightaway. Then you head into 3, and even in 3, you run in even higher than 1 and 2. You come off very high up here at the top dotted white lines. You're really looking at the wall all the way around the track. It's really a big circle. It looks like an oval, but it's a circle.
Well, thanks, Chad. We have a race car down there, Larry, that really doesn't look like it normally does. Brad May's got duct tape on his car. What's the story, Rick?
Well, gentlemen, from that category of best laid plans of mice and men, get a good look at Brad May's car next time it goes by. He's number 70, just like he's always been, but take a close look at the numbers. They're not real numbers. It's just duct tape that they put on the side. Their real numbers were supposed to be delivered up here by FedEx on Saturday. Well, Rougemont is so small, it doesn't get Saturday delivery. They just had to make something up.
Well, thanks, Rick. The cars have lined up 2 by 2, ready to go racing here as they've given them the indication 1 lap to go. They come down the back straightaway. Hopefully we'll get the green flag this time by Chad Chaffin on the pole. And on the outside, Mario Goslin. These 2 drivers have dominated this series. Green flag is in the air, and we're underway.
Yeah, Chad Chaffin gets a good start. Looks like he's going to lead, and everybody gets safely into turn 1 and through there. This racetrack, as Chad told us, a different kind of racetrack. The groove is up off of the bottom, and that makes it very good for the drivers trying to pass. They get down on that bottom, try to ease up into the guy, move him over a little bit. So it should be a good racing here today.
This racetrack, Larry, one of the legendary tracks on the Busch Grand National Division for years. They had some very spirited battles. Good crowd on hand today for the Miller Lite 250. And look at this, Larry. Scott Riggs has made it by Mario Goslin just like that.
Well, he knows this racetrack like the back of his hand. He's run a lot of laps around here, more than anybody else here probably, and he looks to have that race car really hooked up. He tried to sneak under Chad Chaffin, and here he goes again, down to the bottom. He's got his nose up the side of him, going down the back straightaway. Chaffin able to pull away just enough to tuck back in, getting into the corner. Boy, he's done it 2 or 3 laps in a row. The thing you don't want to do, and I'm sure he's aware of this, you don't want to run down there on that bottom side, get those tires hot, and then that'll cause you to slow up later in the race.
The Snap Performance number 96 car of Scott Riggs putting on a good show for the local fans here as he continues to hound Chad Chaffin. Chaffin's N&S Car Parts car is to the outside and gives Riggs the position.
Well, he didn't give it to him. Riggs just took it. There you can see the duct tape on the 70 car of May. But look at that. Riggs right down there on that bottom side. He is not in the preferred groove. In most racetracks, that'd be the fastest way around. On this racetrack, the higher line is better. But boy, through the middle of the corner and coming off, he really seems to be faster. Getting in, he just is afraid to go in there quite that deep and can't hang on to first place.
Well, you see there that he did have to drop back in behind Chaffin again, because you're right, that groove definitely works up higher a lot better. And a bit of smoke now coming from Brad May's race car there. We'll see if we can find out what's wrong, but he is slowing on the racetrack and some smoke coming out of the rear end.
Well, smoke this early in the race is not a good indication. That's usually a cause of a problem. And this early in the race, they usually will not last. There's a long, long way to go. Brad has had some tough luck. We already know he can't get his numbers. Now the thing's smoking right away.
That's a bad weekend right off the bat.
That's right.
At Rougemont, North Carolina, you're watching the Jackaroo Pro Cup cars. We've got a good start here. Green flag racing is underway. And Chaffin already starting to catch some lap traffic. Don Satterfield moves to the outside there of Len Goff in the LCI number 27. We're going to take a short break. Back with more racing from the Miller Lite 250 after this. Today's running of the Miller Lite 250 is being brought to you by Hooters Restaurants, delightfully tacky, yet unrefined. And by Jackaroo Barbie Sauce. If you've got regular barbecue, you ain't got Jack. And by Naturally Fresh, pure spring mountain water. It's naturally refreshing.
Well, we're back at the race here at Rougemont, and Chad Chaffin is leading. And as he got into traffic, he started to pull away. He seems to be getting through the traffic, through the lap cars, much better than anyone else on the racetrack, especially Scott Riggs, who's fallen back several car lengths.
Mario Goslin also has dropped back quite a bit, Larry. Somewhat of a surprise this early in the race to see the 10 car not challenging for the lead. course, Goslin has led the most laps in 1997, and there's Brad May that Rick DeBrule told us about earlier with that duct tape number on that brand new race car. He heads to the pits. Hopefully we'll get an update on exactly what happened to Brad. Well, Rick, you're down there. Tell us about it. Is he going to be okay?
Brad May brings the number 70 car in. They go to look underneath. Once again, they think it's just a problem with that valve cover. They take a look and they send him back out in the way. They don't think there's any serious problem.
Now, Larry, how would they know? They didn't even lift the hood on that race car. How would they know it's a valve cover?
Well, they might have had a problem earlier in the day, had some leakage out on the exhaust headers. Obviously, there was nothing getting onto the ground. If there had been something on the ground, the inspectors would have never let him back on the racetrack. So obviously, they think that he's okay to go back out and run. The problem is leaking and smoking that much, you could get low on oil, and then it's going to be a big problem.
Well, Brad May qualified 6th today from Orlando, Florida. 14.972 seconds. They get around this racetrack in a hurry.
Well, it's a fast little racetrack. It's got nice banking on it, short straightaways, and these guys got the race car set up very well. He said it was really a circle and not an oval, but there are some straightaways. But there's not much time for a driver to rest. This is a very demanding track physically on the drivers because you are always turning.
We heard from Jack Moraes earlier. He's one of those drivers in the rookie battle. He's running along there with Tim Clayton in the 07. Now back to the lead there. That was Chaffin. And here is Riggs in the 96 being challenged by Mario Goslin. So just as I said, Goslin was dropping back a bit. He started to turn the wick up again now, and here he comes, moves back into 2nd place.
And you see, he did that in about 1.5 laps. He got down under him, went on by him. I think that Riggs ran down on that bottom, maybe just a shade too long. He heated up the tires, and that's what causes him to slow up. You've got to take care of your tires in a long race like this, and Riggs usually is not running, he doesn't run this long a race at this racetrack in a normal situation.
So Riggs goes from 2nd place back to 3rd. Good run for Jay Fogelman there. We're currently running 7th place. And the leader is Chad Chaffin. And throughout the season in 1997, we've seen one of 3 cars up front an awful lot, including this guy, Marty Ward, in the number 97 Hooters car. He's been up front a lot, along with Chaffin and Goslin.
Yeah, he seems to be running fairly well here tonight, but he's not up there challenging, but it's a very long race. You don't have to be up there. As long as they're in sight, you're going to be okay. Gene Morgan in that red number 45 right in front of him. He's just hanging on his tail, kind of riding along there back in the top 5. They're doing exactly what their game plan is now. They just can't let Chad Chaffin get way out in front, half lap, 3/4 of a lap. They want to keep him in sight anyway.
Well, here comes Gene Morgan and Marty Ward to move up on the rear deck of Scott Riggs. So they are keeping him in sight for sure as those drivers continue to run in the top 10 here at Rougemont.
Yeah, they're gaining quite a bit right now on Scott Riggs, as he seems to really be slowing down. I think it's more than just the tires that he got too hot. He's got some other sort of a handling problem because he is not running nearly as quick as he was the first 5 or 6 laps of the race. And you can see that Mario Goslin already has pulled away and is out of the camera shot there.
Those cars in the shot right now making their way around Mickey Hudspeth from Rhonda, North Carolina in the number 26 car. Hudspeth a bit slower there, and he is now a lap down in the early stages of the race.
Now Marty Ward goes clear to the bottom. Marty's running lower than we've seen anybody run. Usually you run up in that 2nd groove. He was running clear down on the bottom groove of the racetrack, much like they do at Tucson Raceway Park sometimes when they run that bottom groove. He hasn't been able to make it stick, so he takes it 2 corners, pulls right back up in line. Says, no, I'm not going to stay down there if I can't do it in a couple of corners.
You see the Suncoast Manufacturing car number 2 of Kevin Heath. He's another one of those drivers who is already a lap down. And boy, that's got to be frustrating, Larry, to be a 250-lap race and see the leaders come by this early.
Well, it is frustrating, but these guys up front are so fast. And when you start 30-some cars here on a racetrack like this, you've got, it's very, very quick. So if they get strung out, you've got to really get your act together and start gaining some spots earlier. You're going to go a lap down.
And you run under a long green flag stretch, and you can really lose some time to the leaders. Now, look, the smoke continues to come out of the number 70 car of Brad May, a brand new race car for May, as he just picked that car up a couple of weeks ago, buying that from Kevin Counselor. So a new race car. They may still have a few of the bugs to work out.
Well, they might. We're riding along here with Gary Layton. He's running a pretty good race. Remember that qualified up near the front. He's running up top of Chad Chaffin right now. He's just mowing them down. He's going around guys left, right, and center, and he's up there in that groove. And you notice that the lap traffic, for the most part, being pretty courteous. They're all moving down on the racetrack, letting the faster cars go by.
Corey Smith just went down a lap in the 37 car, and there you see Doc McKinney in the number 50, and you're right, he is mowing them down. Now, Russ Galindo is in the 99 car. He is trying his best to stay on that lead lap as they go around David Craddock. Oh, and Galindo slides over in turn number 2 right in front of the leader.
And Chaffin stops it without ever hitting him. Unfortunately, everybody's going around him while he's sitting there. He's got to back up, and now then he can go around on the outside, but he lost a lot of track position. What a terrible break. Let's take a look. You can see Galindo just loses the back end, slides right up in front of him. Chad Chaffin, excellent, observation. He saw what was coming. He just slammed on the brakes. He didn't hit anything, but he's stuck. He can't get through that little hole up there. Tough break. He lost a lot of track position.
Boy, a lot of those drivers that had just recently gone a lap down have gotten an early Christmas present here at Rougemont. Chaffin's your leader, Goslin, Riggs, Morgan, and Ward, the top 5. Welcome back to Orange County Speedway in Rougemont, North Carolina. Ray Dunlap, Larry Rice, and Rick DeBrule bringing you the Miller Lite 250. Chad Chaffin has led from the green flag, and that caution there, Larry, kind of mixed things up, but here's Chaffin back in the lead.
Well, the ruling is they go back to the previous completed lap. He was not involved in the yellow. He did not cause the yellow, so he does get to go back to the front of the field. That's the official ruling from the Hooters Cup people. So there was no penalty for him because he did not cause the yellow and he was not involved in it.
So Chaffin will be the leader again, and the big question is, can Mario Goslin catch him and pass him? We've seen Scott Riggs be very fast and have a good line around this racetrack, but Riggs now is back up on the high side, and I think he's going to like it there a lot better.
Well, this yellow gives that car, the tires, a chance to cool down. We'll see if that was the problem or whether maybe, he just chose the wrong stagger, and it worked well until the tires got hot, and then they stopped working. We'll find out pretty quickly because Goslin, you can see, is dogging Chaffin pretty good, but Chaffin still seems to be able to pull away a little bit.
We saw the onboard camera there of Gary Layton's Tampico Citrus Punch, number 74. An interesting look at just how tight the racing is here at Rougemont. Layton back there in the pack a little ways. He's got a few cars that he needs to get around to see if he can come up and battle with those leaders.
Yeah, you can see the first 3 cars have kind of pulled away. Everybody else back there battling. There's Gene Morgan in that 45 car trying to get around. Oh, look at Marty Ward back there. He got real sideways, smoking that right rear tire. He doesn't want to do that very often.
Marty Ward dirt tracking just ahead of Tim Edwards in the number 12, and it's got to kind of stop your heart when you see a race car going around like that in front of you.
Well, when they get sideways like that, you definitely lift off the throttle because you don't want him run into him full bore anyway. If you're going to run into him, you just want to tap him a little bit. And that's what saved Chad Chaffin in that last accident. As soon as he saw him going, he got out of the throttle and on the brakes. Otherwise, he'd had some sheet metal damage.
Boy, and I feel bad for old Russ Galindo there. He's trying to stay on the lead lap, working real hard, just trying to do his best he can, and he lets the car loose a little bit and falls up there, and could have been pretty bad for the leader, Chaffin.
Yeah, you can see that Scott Riggs still not running quite as fast as he was earlier in the race. We take a look back a little farther in the field. That's Jay Fogelman in the 40 car back there. But right now, Goslin seems to be able to keep up with Chad Chaffin. Doesn't seem to be gaining on him, but Chaffin is not pulling away like he did earlier in the race.
Chad Chaffin has led 483 laps in 1997 in this inaugural season of the Jackaroo Pro Cup division. We've told you a number of times on the races that in 1996 there were 3 exhibition races, but those did not count in the record books. So a completely new season here, and the smoke continues to pour from Brad May's number 70. Wonder how long they can run like that.
Well, I don't know how long they can run. Evidently they figured that one time in was enough to see that there was nothing getting on the racetrack. They have not black flagged him since, although usually when you start pouring smoke out, oh, we got somebody spinning up there. That's
Rector in the 77 got her sideways, and nobody runs into him.
Well, they've been very lucky. Everybody's been racing heads up here today because that's really tough to do. He just got in there, got a little bit sideways. It's easy to get a car sideways here in the spin. Everybody does a nice job missing him, especially those 2 cars directly behind him. They were very, very close. And here comes Brad May once again. Oh, he's not coming into the pits. He's going to stay out. I thought he was heading for the pits. But he's behind the pace car, and he's going to stay out there.
Charlie Ford goes to the pits in the number 55 car, as well as Sammy Potashnik in the number 65. Well, we got some good-looking crews in this division. A salute to the guys that make it happen. Welcome back to the Miller Lite 250 at Orange County Speedway. We're under caution for the second time. Jerry Rector in the number 77 car spun coming off of turn number 2, and that brought out the yellow. A couple of cars went down to the pit area, Larry, but they're all back on the racetrack.
Well, they were thinking about track position. Charlie Ford thinks that once everybody else has to make their pit stop, he's going to be way up in front and have that position. Now, the question is, will his tires be gone by the end of the race and cost him the positions that he gains? Well, that's the game that everybody plays. You have to do what you think is best for your race car at this time. He was kind of back in the field, so he thought the best way to get up front was play the track position game, go in early, and gain all those spots when everybody else makes a pit stop.
Yeah, it's a 250-lap race, and we just get back underway past the 50-lap mark, so a lot of racing left to go. Not sure whether that'll play out good for Charlie Ford or not. We'll find out all together.
Well, 200 laps is a long way to go on a set of tires. You might see some guys pitting a little earlier, but Chad Chapin right now, he's not thinking too much about pitting because he is just kind of walking away from everybody every time the green flag comes out. Mario Goslin seems to be the only guy on the racetrack who can really kind of keep pace with him.
Let's give a call to Jay Fogelman there in the 40 car, having a good run today here, staying in the top 10 throughout the day. And of course, it doesn't need to be said much about Scott Riggs because he's showing us right on the screen how good he's running,
right,
staying there in the top 5.
Well, Tim Edwards in the 12 car, he's running very well too. He's right up there behind Marty Ward and staying right with that group of cars who are running 3rd, 4th, 5th, and then he's running in 6th position.
One of the things, Larry, that I really like about a touring division like this where the cars go to many different racetracks is the fact that you will pick up a couple of guys from each individual area that say, you know what, I think I can run with these guys. I'm going to come out and show them, and that's exactly what Riggs is doing.
Well, he is showing them that he can run with them. You know, he's got a good race car. He knows the racetrack, and this might give him some little forward momentum to go on and run more races with these guys at different tracks. And look at Morgan down on the bottom of the racetrack once again up beside Riggs. He's going to try to go on around him. He goes clear to the bottom, going into the corner, comes up in the middle, right up to the center of the racetrack, and then comes off kind of in the middle. So far, though, he hasn't been able to pull that off. Once again, we'll see if he stays down there for a lot of laps. But while he's down there, he's going to give Marty Ward the opportunity to go around on the outside.
Boy, Morgan really came up high there coming off of turn number 4. A little smoke coming out of Edwards' car. As these guys continue to battle, Marty Ward really not making the quick move by him. I thought Morgan would get stuck down there, but he's keeping up with him.
Well, that's what I thought. I thought he might just get stuck, but he seems to be very content to run down there thinking, oh, there he is. He is going to pull it off. He's far enough around now that he's going to force Riggs a little higher. No, he goes in on the bottom, but now he's moves him out. Marty Ward goes to the bottom right now. I think Riggs missed the setup a little bit. He's going to have to wait for the tire change to get that car going again.
Valinite, the sponsor on Gene Morgan's number 45 from Simpsonville, South Carolina. He is running a heck of a race.
There goes Tim Edwards. He's going around on the inside. Vogelman right behind him. A whole train of cars as Riggs really seems to be having a problem. Looks like the front end is pushing so bad coming off the corner, he just can't turn the race car.
What a terrible feeling that is, to look down to the inside and see those guys go whizzing by 5 or 6 at a time.
Oh, we got Brad May coming into the pit area. Looks like they've had a black flag, and they're sending him in to have another look at what's going on. You can see the officials there, and he's telling him, pull her on back out of the way, boys, see if he can fix it.
Well, the smoke has been continuing to come out of the back of May's number 70, and I think at some point the officials just said we need to get it in here and make sure, like you mentioned earlier, that it's not putting down fluid on the racetrack.
Yeah, they're going to have a real good look at it this time because there's so much smoke coming out. At some point, they had to say, man, something's going on here. We better have a better look.
Gary Layton running right beside Riggs there, and Layton, another one of the drivers who drops down to the inside. You see just how quickly they get around this racetrack here at Orange County Speedway.
Well, you certainly do. Now, let's go down to Rick DeBrule and see if we can find out what's wrong with Brad May.
You know you're having a bad day when you end up with your car in the middle of the track and everybody else going around you. They brought the car in here because they required them to. They are still working on the car, but they still haven't found the exact problem. But I got news for you. For Brad May, it's a real tough race. The car is only 2 races old for these guys. They were hoping this would be the race, but they would do a great job.
Well, you can see they were spraying water in the front, trying to cool the engine down, but I don't believe that was steam. I think that was oil smoke coming out of that car, so they got a bigger problem than just cooling.
So Brad May sits on the infield after having a great qualifying run here at Orange County Speedway. Tough break for that driver from Orlando, Florida.
Chad Chaffin continues to dominate this race as he's just blowing by guys on the outside. Mario Goslin not all that far behind, but a lot of lap traffic that they're into right now. That's Doc McKinney that they are lapping again. Oh, look at this. That's Sammy Potashnik. He spun. Everybody else back there trying to avoid him is the reason that we got that jam up back there.
Jack Morace went to the inside of Chaffin as he slowed down. Now look at this. Morace goes on the inside of Doc McKinney. McKinney goes to the low side. Sammy Potashnik's PTI number 65 is already sideways over in the turn, and he's going to head for the pits.
Well, he's had some kind of problem the last several laps. He finally ended up spinning the car out, so we'll see what happens. Well, the yellow is out for the third time, and Sammy Potashnik is on the pit road. Rick, what's their problem down there?
Well, Sammy Potashnik brings the car in. At this point, they believe that they simply have a motor problem. It is dead. In fact, Sammy has taken off his helmet. He is going to call it quits for the day.
So Sammy Potashnik is on the pit road. You're watching the Miller Lite 250 from Orange County Speedway. Welcome back to Orange County Speedway in Rougemont, North Carolina. Sammy Potashnik brought out the caution and took his number 65 car to the pits. He's standing by with our Rick DeBrule.
Well, Sammy, let's talk. You had high hopes for today. You thought things were going to go pretty well.
I sure did. I was just sort of taking it easy for a while, and we were running consistent laps, and I just let a couple of those guys real racy right now go by, and we lost the motor in turn 4 down here and got collected. We're done.
End of the day.
End of the day.
A tough break for Sammy Potashnik as you see the crew is pushing his car back to the pits. Let's go back to Rick.
Well, Scott Ricks brings the car onto pit road. Little changes in the strategy here. They're going to go ahead and make this their first pit stop. They're going to go ahead and change the tires on the right-hand side. The problem is the fueler has the fuel rig in, but apparently he's not venting properly. Now they're going to go ahead. He puts the fueler back in. They've got a man with the can in the back venting it properly, and he drives off. Scott Rick drives off before the fuel is even ready.
I'll tell you, Larry, that guy looked pretty perplexed there, didn't he?
Yeah, he didn't exactly, you can tell he wasn't Chocolate Myers with that fuel rig, you know. They didn't have everything exactly the way they wanted to do. But we asked Chad Chaffin a little earlier if he thought he could really win this championship.
Yeah, it's real possible, Rick. We think we've got an outside chance at this now. You're right. At one point in the season, we had missed a race, the second race of the year, to run a Busch Grand National race for Joe Nemechek, and we decided, well, we'll go for second in the points. And as second's not first, but we can do second. Well, now first it's out there. It's still a ways out there, and we're going to have good shows. He's going to have some more bad luck, but it's a doable thing.
But you have to win each race.
We've got to run good. I'm not going to say win, but we've got to run seconds, thirds, fourths, and he's got to do the same and have trouble at least one more time.
But you think you can do it?
I think it can be done.
Now, there is a difference between thinking you can do it and thinking it can be done, right, Larry?
And that was a great answer, you know. It can be done. He's going to have to be a little lucky, but it can be done.
Chaffin is your leader. Goslin runs second. We'll be right back. Ray Dunlap, Larry Rice, and Rick DeBrule back at Orange County Speedway in Rougemont, North Carolina, just about set up to go back to green flag racing. The green is out at lap 74, and Chad Chaffin again gets a good jump on Mario Goslin.
He certainly did get a good jump, and you can see everybody else on that outside line. And once again, the guys on the lead lap are on the outside row. The lap cars are down on the inside row. And Gene Morgan back there running, he's got a couple of lap cars in front of him. He did not get nearly as good a start as the first two guys.
You know, after the midpoint of the season here, Larry, I was pretty much writing this championship off to Mario Goslin. But as Rick talked with him there in the segment just before we went to break, it really can be done. 160 points right now is the differential. And Chad's showing, just like he does each and every week, he's got a car that's a contender to win.
Well, he's been up front almost every race. Goslin, of course, is going to be tough. He is going to have some bad breaks. Right now, he's doing exactly what he's got to do. He's keeping the leader in sight. He's running tough every race. We saw Marty Ward there. He's trying to get on the outside of Gene Morgan.
No, Marty Ward's another driver that I really don't think you could write off for the championship, although it's a bit tougher than what Chad Chaffin would want to do.
Tim Edwards in the 12 car. Now he's going around to the outside, so he's moving up as well. This is his best run so far. I think he's got 3 top 10 finishes, but nothing in the top 5, and he's been up in that top 5 pretty regularly here in this race.
Yeah, good run for him. Now Goslin starts to close up that gap in the Jackaroo car as he's trying to chase down Chad Chaffin. I'll tell you what, I've seen a lot of races at this Speedway, and I'm not sure anybody's car is hooked up quite as well as Chad's is. He just has a perfect groove and a perfect racing line around this track.
He certainly has. Fogelman back there in that 40 car, he's also running very well. He's been right there with those lead lap guys all day long, and you can see that from third on back, very, very close competition.
Chad Chaffin won the pole here at Rougemont, North Carolina. His time was 14.776 seconds, and that's an average speed of 91. But Larry, what kind of speed are they carrying down this straightaway?
Well, they're probably running somewhere between 105 and 110 miles an hour. The straightaways are fairly short. It's a momentum racetrack. You got to keep the momentum up coming off the corners. The guys that are passing are getting a little shot and getting down into the corners a little faster, but it's pretty hard to do. There we're taking a look again at Scott Riggs, who had that pit stop. I'm not sure. That's a good point to bring out right here, is the fact that a guy like Riggs is not used to making pit stops. They've got a new fuel guy. They've got some guys that aren't used to doing that sort of thing, so they were a little confused on that pit stop. I'm not sure they got enough fuel in that race car to make this whole race. They didn't seem to get very much in there.
So the fuel guy came up, and he had the canister in his hand. He put it in the filler neck, but the problem, Fritz Augustine was right there on top of it, telling them that they did not have the overflow can there. When that fuel cell gets filled up, there is an overflow tube that comes out there, and that they have to have that can on there because they don't want them spilling fuel on the racetrack.
Well, in this instance, it didn't make much difference, because when he took the fuel out, he still had so much fuel in, he spilled it all over the pit area anyway. But that was just one of the learning processes that you go through with a new team, and I'm sure that they're going to get a whole lot better as they do more and more of this type racing and have these long races with the pit stops.
You know, I think it's a bit of an enigma, really, when you think about the way Winston Cup handles their pit stops. The guys are so professional and they're so good at what they do, but the fact is they get paid to do that each and every week, and they practice it.
And these guys are all, you know, these are all volunteers, and you can see right there, Scott Riggs, he went up, he just gave a little nudge there to Jabe Jones and said, I'm back here, I need to get around. I think Jabe might have thought maybe that's a good idea.
Yeah, we'll just let him go. Here's a replay. Riggs comes right up on him on the snap number 96, and he gives Jabe that little bit of push. Jabe from Martin, Georgia, in the Southern Basement car. And yeah, you know, it is a learning experience in any division as you come up, but both of those guys really true rookies.
That's exactly right. Mickey Hudspeth and Lee Raymond back here battling in the back of the pack. These two guys have been veterans of this this series. Hudspeth trying to make a comeback, doing a nice job. He hasn't been as fast as some of the front runners, but he's getting a lot of experience and a lot of lap time.
Well, Chad Chaffin is putting a lap on the number 6 car of Lester Lesneski. The Loctite number 6 car is definitely slower than normal here this weekend at Rougemont.
David Craddock in the 79 car also going a lap down as he's pulled down to the inside of the racetrack. These guys are just running around here trying to get some points. They're not really as hooked up as they would like to be. They realize, and they're heeding the layover flag very well.
These guys are doing a nice job on the racetrack of letting the leaders go. So far, it's been all Chad Chaffin here in the Jackaroo Pro Cup Series. Folks, if you haven't seen this kind of racing, this is a brand new division. The cars look very similar to a NASCAR Winston Cup type car or cars from the ARCA Bondo Marhide Series. And that driver right there, Gary Layton, in the 74, has had a great deal of success over in ARCA. Oh, and trouble down the front straightaway as the 27 of Len Goff's car has made hard contact with the front wall. You see the LCI on his hood is banged up pretty bad.
Yeah, he got the right front corner into the wall very, very hard. You can see there's water running down the racetrack where the radiator's busted, so he's got some big problems, and he's going to have to go do a lot of work if he wants to get that car back on the racetrack.
Len Goff has made contact there, and you see the window net is down, so the driver is okay for the Team LCI entry. The number 27 car, though, is not okay. There's a lot of damage there.
Yeah, he's moving around in the cockpit, but they're going to have to get the wrecker out there and haul this car off. The right front wheel is damaged pretty badly. It's not going to be able to be pushed back into the pit area.
So the yellow is out once again. We'll take a commercial break and be back with more racing in the Miller Lite 250. back at Rougemont, and Len Goff has gotten out of the number 27 car, so that's a good sign. But there's some action down on the pit road. Let's go down to Rick DeBrule.
Mario Goslin comes in. They just want to change those right side tires. They're going to go ahead and jack them up, put in a new can of fuel, do the tire change as quickly as they can. They just think that this is the time in the race. They don't seem to be able to catch up to Chad. Maybe this will make the difference, putting on a new set of right side tires. They got them on, and they're going to send them back out.
You can see that that pit stop went a lot smoother than the last one that we saw. They got the fuel in that thing, they got the tires changed, and that's a strategic move on Goslin's part. He's going to be ahead of Chad Chaffin after Chaffin makes his pit stop now.
Well, Len Goff's car looks pretty bad as they've got it on the back of the wrecker. It's going to head to the pits. It appears his day is done. Is that true, Rick?
Well, Len Goff, let's talk about what happened. You hit that wall pretty hard.
Well, the car was running really good, and by the last 15 laps, it developed a real bad loose condition coming off of 4. And once I drifted in behind Mario and the leaders, it just got out of shape coming out of 4, and I looped it and I couldn't save it, and it's okay.
So it appears Len Goff's day is definitely done. Here's an interesting driver, Robin Caldwell, in the Affordable Builders, number 35. And you know, many of these drivers have different occupations that make them very unique.
I never dreamed I'd ever be doing it for a living, but I enjoy it. You don't get tired of it. You know, it's fun. It's always something different.
Why paint cars? I mean, there's a lot of different kinds of art. There's graphic arts, there's, you know, oil painting, whatever. You paint cars. Why?
Well, when I got started, the first thing I did was I started airbrushing. And back in like late 70s, early 80s, murals were big. Trans Am Eagles, stripes, graphics, you know, your street machine cars and all that. And that's what really got me into the painting part. You know, nowadays I don't actually paint automobiles anymore. You know, if somebody brings me something, they'll paint a scene on it for them, or stripes, or, you know, pretty much that's it, you know, some kind of mural with, you know, some clear or something.
You do the artwork on a car.
Right. That's, do a lot of that. A lot of dirt cars. That's my biggest thing, probably. Dirt cars, some asphalt cars, records, rollbacks, you know, signs, old trucks, helmets, Harley tanks.
Anything having to do with speed, you do it.
Well, you'd be surprised the stuff people bring you, you know, wanting it lettered, you know, so, I mean, golf bags, you know, anything. They come in there with all kind of stuff. When you're painting, I enjoy it, you know, and people sit there and they say, I don't say you have the patience to do that, but you're not in any hurry, you know, and when I get done with something, you know, they say, well, you know, that's good, don't you think it's good? And I say, well, it's all right, because I know if you went back and did it again, you could do it just a little bit better. And, you know, every time you do it, you're going to do it a little bit better. And, you know, the race car, it's a lot harder to be patient. You know, you just going and going, and, you know, you're always trying to push yourself there. And to me, it's two totally different things. Maybe that's why I like to do it. So, you know, it's one way and one the other way.
Welcome back to the Miller Lite 250. We're hoping to go back to green flag racing here as we were under caution. Robin Caldwell, the driver we just learned a little bit about, is down to the inside in car number 35, a lap down. Marty Ward has moved up in the number 97 car to second position behind Chad Chaffin. Then we see Gene Morgan, and the green flag is out, and Chaffin once again back on the gas. Caldwell with a good jump this time, and Marty Ward takes a look to the inside.
Marty Ward did take a look to the inside. I think the lap traffic caused him to have to pull back up into line, though, as he really made an effort to get that 3 wide into turn number 1. Fogle went up to 3rd, Tissot in 4th, so these guys running very well.
See Charlie Ford there in the number 55 car, currently being shown in 10th place. Ford's had kind of an up and down season throughout the year. Now Robin Caldwell, the artist in number 35, as we said, was a lap down. He made a good jump there on the green flag. Thought maybe he was going to be able to get one of his laps back, but Chaffin got that thing fired up, and down that back straightaway he took the position back, so Caldwell will once again be a lap down.
And Gene Morgan dropped several positions on that restart. He's back behind Lee Tissot right there, trying to battle his way back up to the front.
Lee Tissot, Larry, really is one of those drivers that hasn't gotten a lot of limelight in this series, but he's been consistent.
He's been very, very consistent. That's why he's up amongst the leaders for that Rookie of the Year award. He's run up front a lot. He's had a little bit of bad luck. He's a couple of times, but for the most part, he's run very, very well, and I think he's done himself proud and his team proud all year long.
Comes into this race 10th in the points, just a handful of points behind Charlie Ford, the driver we just mentioned earlier in number 55.
Jay Fogelman in that 40 car down on the bottom of the racetrack you just saw, and here is Mario Goslin trying to work his way back up to the front after making that pit stop. Again, they were only at not quite the halfway mark, and he decided to go in and go ahead and make his pit stop at 105, 106 laps when this thing restarted. So he's going to be able to make the last 140 laps or so with these tires and with the fuel that he's got on there, hoping that the track position will pay off when everybody else has to go in.
And that may be a good move for him, Larry, and we have yet to see Gary Layton or Chad Chaffin or any of those drivers come to the pits. But I guess one of the things I'm really wondering about is that driver Scott Riggs. We know we saw that bad pit stop they had, and as you mentioned, they didn't get a lot of fuel in there. Is he going to be able to make it, or do they have to come back in?
Well, I imagine he's going to have to come back in. That's it's hard to say. I don't know exactly what their fuel mileage is like. We don't know exactly how much they got in there. But Gary Layton seems to be doing a little smoking up there in front of him. I'm not sure whether that's tire smoke or whether that's from something else. But the last couple of laps, we saw a little bit of smoke. Now it seems to have stopped. It may just have been tire smoke.
Gary Layton from Albemarle, North Carolina, over in the area towards the Rockingham racetrack. A driver who has, as we mentioned earlier, competed in a number of ARCA Super Speedway events in 1997. Done very well. Won the pole at Michigan and a pole at Charlotte, and won a race at Charlotte. So Layton coming on strong now in the middle stages of this race as he's going to fall in line. He's back there a bit behind Mario Goslin, but his next target on the racetrack is the 09 of Jape Jones.
That's Scott Riggs, who's right behind Mario Goslin. He's the one that we're not sure. That was Scott Riggs, I think, that was smoking. I think I was wrong about that. I don't believe that was Layton. I think it was Scott Riggs that we saw smoking, and he continues to smoke as he goes through the corner. Right in the middle of the corner seems to be just a little puff of smoke.
Looks like maybe he's rolling over on that right rear tire just a bit, too. Yeah, no, you're right. It is coming out from the backside, so we'll keep our eye on Scott Riggs, one of the local favorites here at Orange County Speedway.
He's running pretty well. He's keeping up with all the front runners. Seems to be doing better than he was a little earlier. He's right behind Goslin, hanging on to him, but that smoke could prove to be a problem. They've caught up with Gene Morgan in that 45 car now, so they have come, Goslin has come a long way back after that pit stop and picking off cars one or two at a time.
And while they're racing back there, they are letting the leader get away. Chad Chaffin back up there where he's going to have some lap traffic to start dealing with, but he has stretched it out to almost a half a straightaway lead, and we saw some flames coming out of the tailpipe there at Gene Morgan in the 45 car, and that continues. Does Morgan have a motor problem?
Well, I think that's been happening pretty much the whole race. I think he's just running that car a little richer than some of the other guys, and that's fuel just igniting when he lets off of the throttle. It's only doing it as he enters the corner. But Morgan is running a very low line on the racetrack right now. Chaffin, though, man, he is just flying.
Kind of a Jeff Gordon-like run today in the early stages of this Miller Lite 250. You're watching the Jackaroo Pro Cup Series. I'm Ray Dunlap alongside Larry Rice up here in the booth. Rick DeBrule is down on the pit road bringing you the stories today, and the main story so far has been that Chad Chaffin is out front, as he has been the entire race.
And the more lap cars he fits between him and the second place car just helps him get that much farther ahead. You can see the battle back there, a lot of lap traffic, and every one of those guys that he goes around just helps him extend that lead more and more.
Well, Chad Chaffin just picked up his third consecutive Royal Purple's Halfway Lubricants halfway leader, and that's $1,000 he's got at the last three races. He won that at Peach State Speedway and at Kingsport Speedway. So for three races in a row, Chad was leading at the halfway point. The bad news is one of those races he didn't lead at the end. Marty Ward beat him at Peach State.
Well, here's a real battle a little farther back. That's Gene Morgan, Tim Edwards, and Gary Layton. All those guys battling for position. Tim Edwards down on the inside. Morgan, whoa, he got together with Morgan. Morgan sideways. Edwards is just pushing. Oh, he gets up on a wheel now. There's going to be some damage. I don't know how bad, but tough break. Both those guys running a very low line. There just wasn't enough room down there, enough traction for both of them to get through clear on the bottom of the racetrack.
Here's a look at the replay as down to the inside. You're right, it was Edwards just with a little bit of a nudge. and it looked like Morgan was going to be able to get it straightened out. And look here, Gary Layton slowed up in a hurry.
He got on the brakes hard. He missed the whole incident, but right there at the end, it looked like Edwards climbed up on that left front wheel of Morgan, and we don't know how much damage is done. Both of them still on the racetrack. Doesn't seem to be a lot of body damage, though.
Now, a number of these drivers have yet to pit, and here goes Chad Chaffin.
Chad Chaffin brings the number 84 car in. You would have thought he planned this one out. He wanted a yellow flag right after the halfway distance, and guess what he got? A yellow flag. They only want to change 2 tires just on the right side. According to the crew, they don't want to make any changes of significance. They are, however, having a little bit of a problem getting the right front on, but they're going to go ahead and get that done. They've got the fuel in. The pit stop's taking longer than they like, and Chad is in there wondering when he's going to get out. We should mention Chad has a piece of cloth taped around his foot because he burned his foot on the exhaust pipe during the last race. Just before the race, they put some duct tape and a piece of cloth. Now, they finally get the tires on the right side, but it's a very, very slow pit stop.
Well, track position, Larry, as we've talked about so many times, is everything, and that pit stop might have hurt Chad Chaffin a bunch.
Well, I think it did. As you can take a look at some of the crews, these guys, all volunteers, do a great job here in this USAR Pro Cup Series. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Orange County Speedway, the Jackaroo Pro Cup Series, and pit stops are the order of the day. Looks like Brad May lost a little bit of his number. I think he's 7 and some kind of Japanese signal down there. Back to Rick.
Marty Ward brings the number 97 car in for a second pit stop. They made a pit stop just a moment ago. They changed the tires on the right side. Now they go to work for the tires on the left side, and they're doing quick work of it. They get them into place. The crews are getting them on. This is the race that they've been wanting for a long time. So far, they haven't had any problems, serious problems. Now they want to get back out and do some racing. Bob Mangum is the crew chief for Marty Ward. Let's talk about the car. How's it going? Does he like it?
The car is not bad. We didn't make any chassis adjustment. All we got was 4 fresh tires, and with the 2 T-motor Monte Carlo will be ready to go.
Let's talk. You know, he's been up with that pack, but he hasn't been able to catch Chad. Can he catch up?
Chad's car's bad fast. I don't know if we can do anything with him, but we're certainly going to try, but Chad's doing a good job.
Now, Larry, just how fast exactly is bad fast?
Well, it must be pretty fast because he's leading the race.
Bob Mangan there talking about the bad fast car of Chad Chaffin, but Larry, he really didn't have that great of a pit stop.
No, he didn't, because they forgot to turn the air wrench on that right front. They had to go turn it on, and that caused the slowness. Earlier, we had a chance to talk to Mario Goslin about his chances of beating Chad Chaffin.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen. You know, this is racing. But, no, we've had a good car. We're hoping to get right back where we were. We had some bad luck, broke a gear, and that stuff's going to happen. You know, it's just unfortunate. It happened real early in the race, and it really hurt us pretty bad. But we're going to go on. We got a good car here, you know, today. Jackaroo Monte Carlo is running really good, and keep our fingers crossed. You know, hopefully we'll qualify top 5 or 6 and stay out there all night, and we'll be in good shape. If nothing breaks, you know, I'm pretty confident we'll be in the top 5.
Are you hoping you got that bad luck out of the way?
Yes, sir. I went through last year, and I had a lot of bad luck, and I was on a pretty good roll here this year, and hopefully we can pick right back up on that roll.
Perfect. Well, he certainly picked up on that spot right now, as he will inherit the lead from Chad Chaffin, and we'll be back with more racing. Welcome back to the Miller Lite 250. Ray Dunlap, Larry Rice, and Rick DeBrule bringing you the action. We're under caution once again. Mario Goslin will now be at the point in the Jackaroo Chevrolet. The green flag is back out. Now, this pit stop cycle really has shuffled the cars, and there you see Chad Chaffin in the number 84 car, who has led a whole bunch of this race, 120-some laps, before he surrendered the lead to Mario Goslin. Now, can he come back through the traffic and pass Goslin to get the lead back?
Well, you can see that he's deep in the field. He's probably running about 8th or 9th right now, but a lot of lap traffic in front of him. But with Mario Goslin on the point, it's going to be very, very tough. When he gets out front in a race car, he is tough to get around, as Scott is finding out right now.
Scott Riggs is the driver that Larry's making mention of, one of the local favorites here at Orange County Speedway in Rougemont, North Carolina. This track, one of the classic bull rings of Southern racing, and this is really a dandy here. Good crowd on hand watching the Miller Lite 250. This is the Jackaroo Pro Cup Series, and Mario Goslin holds the point lead over Chad Chaffin. Chaffin has had a great run tonight. That car has been on a rail, and I think it's going to be fun to watch him coming back through that traffic.
Yes, it is. He's been handling the traffic extremely well. But now then, they're not going to be lap traffic all the time. They're not going to be moving over for him quite as easily, so it's going to be a little tougher for him this time around to get back up through there. That's Jerry Rector in the 77 car, third there on your screen. He's keeping right up there as the leader.
Rector was one of the cars that spun earlier in the race, but he appears to be running pretty well. He's third on the screen, but not third in the race. So Rector is at least one or more laps down.
You can see that Marty Ward's running back in about 8th spot. Gene Morgan back in 10th after those pit stops. So those guys have fallen a ways back on the racetrack. Layton, who is actually the 4th car on your screen back there, is in 3rd position. Rector is a lap car, as you said.
In the first half of the race, Gene Morgan's car was excellent, but he and Tim Edwards made contact down there involved in that little bit of spin off of turn number 2. Now there you see Edwards in the 12 car. I'm wondering if Gene Morgan's car maybe knocked a toe in out a little bit or had some damage to that left front, because his car nowhere near as fast as it was earlier.
Yeah, Tim Edwards doesn't seem to be having much problem, though, as he's going around Charlie Ford. He's jumped to the inside. He went around one lap car on the outside. Now he's down to the inside. And look at Chad Chapin. He did almost exactly the same thing, but he doesn't seem to have much for Tim Edwards. He's just been able to keep up with him, but not been able to get around him.
See Don Satterfield in the Hawksaw Blades #1 car there down to the inside. So Satterfield's car a little bit slower than these leaders. Now here comes Chaffin. Chaffin's car is right up with Tim Edwards, and a big pack of traffic back there as they try to continually work on Satterfield. Marty Ward's car stuck down to the inside. Now he's going to change that line and go back up top.
Yeah, Lee Tissot is in that group of cars also. So there's a lot of guys, a lot of fast cars right up there in that group of cars.
Russ Galindo, and there's a car in that pack right there, Larry, as we're taking a look right there at the 04 car. We haven't said too much about Bugs Harefield. He's having a pretty good run tonight here at Orange County.
He has had a good run. He's been running up front. He was, as a matter of fact, was right behind. I think he was in 3rd or 4th spot there earlier in the day, running right with the leaders. But you're right, we have kind of not said a whole lot about him. Marty Ward right now working on him, trying to get back around him.
Stock Car Products, the sponsor on the 04 car there, the red, white, and blue car, and Charlie Ford's car got all out of shape.
Let's see if Galindo gets in him. I don't think so. I think he was already spinning before Galindo got up there. I'm not sure he ever did hit him until after he got straight again. Then he gave him a little bump. Did a nice job, though.
Bit of a chain reaction there as Marty Ward came up and had a little contact, too.
Yeah, well, all those guys, it could have been a whole lot worse. If somebody had nailed him while he was sideways, all those guys would have been involved. And there you see Lee Tissot down on the inside of Bugs Harefield. He's trying to make it 3 wide. This racetrack's wide, but I'm not sure it's that wide.
Tissot's car really hooked up on the inside, and look at this. Lee moves to the inside in that black and white number 47 car, going down to the inside of Harefield, and that car seems to be working very well on the low side, which has not been the good groove tonight.
Hasn't normally been the good groove. Morgan has been running down there most of the night, but it normally has not been the best place to be. There you see Gene Morgan. He's been running down in that bottom groove practically the whole night long. It must be the way he set the car up, thinking that you got to run where they're not if you want to go around them.
Oh, and Tissot goes 3 wide. They go around Russ Galindo, and Marty Ward decides to go to the high side in the Hooters number 97. They pull it off as Galindo slides back a couple of spots. We'll be back with more of the Miller Lite 250 from Orange County Speedway after these messages. Well, the second half of this Miller Lite 250 getting very racy here at Orange County Speedway. Lots of cars fighting for position. In the first half, Chad Chaffin was kind of on a string out front, but now he's got to work his way through traffic, and this group is going tooth and nail.
Boy, Marty Ward trying to get around Bugs Harefield. Lee Tissot trying to get around both of them. There's cars all over the racetrack. That's Satterfield, a lap car down on the inside. He's trying to get out of the way, but there's no place to go. These guys are racing side by side.
Harefield from Chesterfield, Virginia, making his first start in 1997 in this Jackaroo Pro Cup Series. There you see that damage on the front of Tim Edwards' car, the number 12. And back through the pack, Chad Chaffin continues to try to move up. He's back in the top 5.
He certainly is. Tissot seems to be slowing down there. He's really slowing down. I thought maybe he just had a little bit of a handling problem, but it looks like he's going to head for the pits. He's way off the pace and headed down toward the pit area. Tough break. He's been running very, very well.
Lee Tissot had a strong car. see Taylor, the sponsorship there on the number 47, but that is a very slow entry to the pits, and the way he's pulling in there, it doesn't look good.
Well, when you nose into the trailer, that's not a good sign. If you thought he had any chance of going back out, he would have pulled in sideways. Let's go down to Rick DeBrule and see if he can find out what happened.
It has been a tough day for our rookies. Number 47, Lite Tissot, brings his car in. Something wrong with the motor, and it is terminal. There you see him taking the helmet off. He's going to be very frustrated. He's in that running Rookie of the Year honors. He's out of the race.
Well, Larry, any time that you drop out of the race is certainly frustrating, but the big problem for Lee Tissot is there's only 2 other cars that have dropped out, Sammy Potashnik and Len Goff. That's going to put him way down in the running order.
And that's kind of a testament to how good these guys are doing here tonight. This is a very tough, tight racetrack. Very easy to get in big trouble. We haven't seen any big crashes. We haven't seen anybody really bumping and banging on each other. So I think everybody here can pat themselves on the back because they've done a nice job. The lap cars are staying out of the way. The guys up top are picking their way through the lap traffic very carefully.
And there's been traffic just about the entire race, and I agree with you. These drivers doing a nice job tonight here at Orange County Speedway. It's the 7th event of 1997. In 11 races, will crown the champion. The question is, can the number 84 car, Chad Chaffin, battle with Mario Goslin? Of course, Goslin won 3 consecutive races, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th events of 1997.
Let's go down to the pit area of Rick DeBrule, who's caught up with Lee Tissot.
Lee Tissot, you were running strong. What happened? I believe it might have broke a valve spring or something in the motor, and just started missing real bad going down the back stretch. I didn't want to go ahead and blow it on up, so I pulled it in. Did you get any warning at all? You seem to be running strong. No warning. I had a car to beat. That second set of tires was awesome. I could go anywhere. Okay.
Well, Larry, it's tough enough when you have a terrible car that drops out of the race, but when you got a good one that drops out, that really gives you a disappointment.
And I think he was right. That car was really hooked up the second half. On the other hand, I think Chad Chaffin, probably when he made his tire change, this set is not as good as the first set. He's having a lot more difficulty getting around. He's been following Tim Edwards now for about 20 laps, has not been able to even get around him. So I think that when they made their tire change, it wasn't the best thing for the handling of that race car.
Well, it's getting a little bit later in the evening, but really the outside temperature hasn't changed a bit here. A nice summer night in Rougemont, North Carolina. Beautiful evening for racing, and I think you're right, Chaffin's car not quite as good as it was.
It's still fast. He's still running in the top 5, but he's just not able to pick cars off and blow them away as he was earlier in the night.
The Jackaroo Chevrolet, driven by Mario Goslin, has the command in the points lead. He's led the most laps in 1997. He's led 5 times in 4 different races. Well, we'll add another notch to that because tonight it'll be 6 times in 5 races.
Well, he made that pit stop early in the night. He knew when everybody else went in, he was going to have the track advantage. It looked like that's played out to his advantage as we take a look at Scott Riggs and Gary Layton, who are battling each other for that second spot. Right now, Riggs is able to hang on. And remember, he fell way back earlier in the race when the handling went away. Once he's gone in the pits, made that change, why, I think his race car is doing a lot better. But that smoke still continues to come out of the bottom of his car.
Yeah, Larry, we're talking about how good a job everybody's doing tonight here at the Speedway, and you look how nice these cars look for short track racing. It's amazing. And just a couple of weeks ago, they ran at Kingsport, Tennessee, and there was an awful lot of beat-up equipment. These guys have done a great job to get their race cars looking great again. And back out here on the racetrack is, look at Layton. He is continuing to stay on that bottom side, working over Riggs, and I believe he's going to get the position this time by a little contact.
They've been racing side by side now for about 3 laps. Layton's getting through the middle of the corner much better, and they come up there right in the middle of the straightaway every time, just about touched. But still, Riggs gets a good shot down off of that banking and down the straightaways, which enables him to hang on to that position, at least for the moment.
Derek Countryman in the number 33 Lumar's window film car is just ahead of them, and he is going to become a pick for one of these drivers. Who will go to which side? Countryman is up on the high side, down to the inside. Robin Caldwell, they're going to catch him within the next lap or so.
Boy, you can see that they're both coming up there. Oh, look at that. Layton got real sideways coming off the corner. Hung on to it, but he's going to have to choose what happens when he gets up there. He did get an advantage. I think what happened when he got sideways, Scott Riggs got out of the throttle just a little bit and gave him just a little bit of an advantage.
The racing continues in the Miller Lite 250. Gosselin continues to be your leader with Layton, Riggs, Edwards, and Ward. Good racing all around the track tonight in the Miller Lite 250. We've got a battle here as Gary Layton made his way by Scott Riggs. Mario Gosselin is the leader in the Jackaroo Chevrolet. But these other drivers working hard to try to get back up there and give him a run for it. Marty Ward there making his way by the Reds Grill number 77 of Jerry Rector.
Yeah, Marty Ward seems to be running very well right now. He's catching up with Chad Chaffin, and I think Chad Chaffin was the big loser on that last round of pit stops. It seems like the handling on that race car has just kind of gone away. And look how much Marty Ward has picked up on him just in the last lap or two.
As we approached the midpoint of the season, we really weren't positive that Marty Ward was ever going to have a good finish in this division. The driver who won all 3 exhibition races in 1996 had a terrible start, but things have kind of turned around for him. And he got that win at Peach State Speedway. Oh, and look at Chad Chaffin. He really got hot.
Boy, that thing looked like it got real loose on him. He had to kind of chase it up the racetrack just to keep it from spinning. And when he did that, he let Marty Ward just drive right on by. I think if he gets another yellow, you might see him come in and change tires, because this set's certainly not working for him.
Chad Chaffin was out front the first 121 laps of this race. And now, from that point forward, it's been all Mario Gosselin.
Yeah, Mario Gosselin made a very good choice on the tires when he went back in. The setup is very, very good. And Tim Edwards, he's doing a great job here. Scott Riggs running better than he did the first part of the race, and Marty Ward seems to be the fastest guy on the racetrack right now, quite honestly. Definitely the best race of the season for Tim Edwards in car number 12 from Tryon, North Carolina. So he's having a great run there. Mario Gosselin car kind of looks like Chad's did in the first half. Exactly. It looks like it's right on a rail. He's having no problem with the lap traffic. He's got that groove up there on the high side, just working it like crazy. And then whenever he comes to the lap traffic, he just drives right on by him. Gary Layton, he's another guy that seems to be very, very fast in this half of the race. And a lot of what you do and how important the last half of the race is shows right here. You've got to not only have it set up for the first part of the race, but the last half as well. And the racetrack does change. It usually gets slicker during the last half of the race. So you kind of have to plan on that. There's a lot of oil that gets dropped on the racetrack, a lot of things that happen out there. So you got to know what the weather's going to do. You got to know what the racetrack's going to do. And Scott Riggs should have an advantage knowing what this racetrack is going to do as the night goes on. You know, Larry, we look at a lot of statistics in racing over different divisions, and one of the ones that I think is very interesting in this class is the laps completed category. Now, Mario Gosselin has completed 97.5% of all the laps this year, but Chad Chaffin has completed 100% of the laps. The difference is he missed a race. He missed one race, and that's a whole bunch of difference in that one race. A lot of points can be scored in that one event. And you can see that Gosselin has almost a whole straightaway lead on Gary Layton as they pan back the lap before. He is really running well, and I don't think there's anybody out there except for maybe Marty Ward that has anything for him. Marty seems to be really going well back there in the top 5 somewhere. You know, hindsight is 20/20, and I think Chad made a good move to go do that race that he had to when he did miss the event. But we talked about it, only 160 points separating these two drivers. Had he been in that other race, it may have been a 5 or 10 point battle. That's right, and here we see Marty Ward. He's down to the inside of Tim Edwards. He's followed him now for about 3 or 4 laps. Finally, he got down to the inside. Look at this. He moves right up. He just kind of forced Tim Edwards to go a little bit higher than he wanted to. Had to get out of the throttle, and he went right on by him. Marty Ward really is probably the fastest race car out there at this point in the race. The Hooters car running very well tonight here, as well as the Jackaroo car. So a couple of drivers having stellar performances tonight in the Miller Lite 250. Tim Edwards has done a nice job all night long, though. He does not have a top 5 finish so far this year. He's consistently run in the top 5 here tonight. He's got this racetrack figured out. He's got his car set up well. And on the other hand, Chad Chaffin seems to really be struggling right now. You know, there was 0.2 of a second differential between Chaffin's qualifying and Ward's qualifying, but Bob Mangan's figured out something because he's got that Hooters car much better than it was. Well, those pit stops made a big difference for everybody. For some it was very good, for some it was very bad. Chad Chaffin happens to be the guy that was bad for. All of these other guys, I don't think Tim Edwards is car has changed all that much. He's been running about in that position on the racetrack most of the night. But Marty Ward, Mario Goslin, both, well, Mario Goslin's not running a whole lot better. I think it's just that Chad Chapman is not running as quick.
Derek Countryman down to the inside there as the 40 car goes to the high side. Now here comes the leader. Mario Goslin is going around Mickey Hudspeth once again in the race fan number 26 car there. So he slides to the high side, and that smoke continues to come out of Brad Mays, number 70. They've put him back on the racetrack. That car doesn't look a bit better.
No, he's been running like that most of the race. Obviously, they've taken a look at it and said that, well, it's not hurting anything. It's not getting on the racetrack. They let him run for a long time earlier in the race. He came in, had a look at it, went back out, still doing the same thing.
Brad May's car was pretty fast in the first part of this race, but after sitting on the pit road there for a while, as they looked over that problem, whatever's causing the smoke, it has set him way back in the field. Well, Goslin continues to be your leader, and we'll have more of the Miller Lite 250 when we return. Back at Orange County Speedway, Marty Ward's car is doing very well as he is caught up to the back of Gary Layton. These drivers all battling in the top 5. Mario Goslin is the leader. Chad Chaffin's car somewhat off the pace in comparison to how fast he ran in the first half of this event tonight.
Well, this is the battle for second spot. Gary Layton has it. Marty Ward wants it. Marty Ward's been following him now for about 5 or 6 laps, trying to figure out a way to get around him. Of course, the closer to the front you get, the faster the guys are, so it's a little bit harder. He followed Tim Edwards for a while, finally just found a spot on the racetrack, kind of muscled his way by down on the inside. But right now, he's hoping that this lap traffic is going to help him, because Gary Layton's running fast enough that without a little help, it's going to be very hard to get around him.
Well, they're moving around the 99 car of Russ Galindo right there. His car was pretty good in the first half of the race, but as he was fighting along with Chad Chaffin trying to stay on the lead lap, he spun in turn 2. That brought out our first caution of the day, and since that point, Galindo's car has been just a tick off, and our leader right now, the number 10 car, is starting to get away from this battle for second. I think these two guys racing each other is giving him some space.
Well, racing each other in the lap traffic. I think they're in a lot more lap traffic right now than Goslin is. So he's able to get through it a little easier, just able to run a little faster. Once you get around the lap traffic, it's going to be a little faster for these guys. But Layton right now having to drive a little bit on the defensive side and using that lap traffic to keep Marty Ward behind him. And you can see that a lot of the race cars getting very, very loose out there. Racetrack, that's Mickey Hudspeth again. But the racetrack's getting a little slicker as the night wears on, and some of the guys who didn't anticipate that having a little more trouble than others.
They're going to have to get a heating pad out to give to that flagman to keep on his elbow as much flag work as he's doing up there.
Yeah, you can just kind of hang that layover flag out there and leave it, I think, is the way they're lapping these guys tonight.
Jimmy McLean in the number 8 car going a lap down there once again. His car very slow tonight. And McLean needs to go in and do a little bit of work, so he goes to the pit road.
Again, Marty Ward trying to find a way around, and you can see up there in front of him, the 70 car, Brad May, still putting out a lot of smoke. This guy's not wanting to follow him too close. There's Bugs Harefield. He's done a nice job here tonight. We haven't said a whole lot about him. He's running in 8th place, and he's been running pretty consistently with the leaders.
First event of 1997 for Bugs Harefield, a beautiful looking red, white, and blue race car, having a good run tonight here on the bull ring. You know, Larry, we've talked a couple of times about how well everybody's doing out here, but I think you're right. A lot of cars starting to loosen up a great deal. The track's getting a little bit greasier, and not sure whether Brad May is putting anything down out of that race car, but an awful lot of guys slipping inside.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys slipping and sliding out there. They're still doing a nice job, but Mario Goslin still keeps putting them away. There you can see Gene Morgan, who now is a lap down, and he was right up amongst the leaders early in the race, but now he's going to lap down.
So Morgan's car was very good before that incident with Tim Edwards, but it has apparently slowed him up a bit, and he now will drop off of the lead lap.
Well, a lot of smoke up in front of those guys, and I got to believe that there's some of that fluid getting to the racetrack, and that's why these guys are starting to slip and slide around a little bit. You can tell Marty Ward wants to try something a little different, but he's afraid to.
Well, Tim Edwards is running in 4th place, and at this point there are only 7 cars on the lead lap. One driver that's been having some trouble is Chad Chaffin, and Rick's with his crew chief. Tom Perkins, what's wrong with Chad Chaffin?
Might be kind of
got a blister tire on the left side, but we'll try to get him changed. They'll take it off.
Is it going to make it to the end of the race?
I don't know if we can make it right now. We hope we run caution right now.
Well, the advantage he would have, Larry, is the fact that there are only 7 cars on the lead lap, so if they do duck into the pits, they get decent track position back when they come out onto the track.
Exactly, and then they've got a chance to get back to the front. But with that blister tire, they have absolutely no chance of winning this race. So they definitely are looking for some sort of a caution. The 09 car, Jabe Jones, is the one that's putting out all that smoke we've been looking at up there. You can see right in the middle of the corner when he gets out of the throttle and back in. Boy, there's smoke coming out of the exhaust pretty bad.
The engine on that car is doomed.
It's not long for this world. That's a lot of smoke to be putting out. And I think everybody's a little leery. When you're following a car like that, sometimes you think, boy, it won't be long before that thing blows up. And if it doesn't, when I'm right behind him, I'm going to be stuck. So you try to follow him either to the inside or to the outside, so you've got an escape route if something does happen to him. You can see right now that Gary Layton trying to go to the outside of him, getting into the corner, then trying to duck to the inside of him coming off. But he doesn't want to follow right behind him. Number one, he doesn't want to run through any fluid that might be down there. And number two, if that thing quits suddenly, he doesn't want to get caught up in the accident.
I don't want to put a hex on Jabe Jones, but folks, it isn't going to last. That's all there is to that.
Yeah, you can see he's slowed down quite a bit, moved down to the inside of the racetrack. But, you know, as long as the officials don't think it's dropping fluid on the racetrack, they're going to let him stay out there.
So Layton and Ward are having a very spirited battle here at Orange County Speedway. You're watching the USAR Jackaroo Pro Cup Series, and the driver of the Jackaroo race car is the leader. Mario Goslin is out front. He's the second leader of the evening. Chad Chaffin was out front for 121 laps and very strong from that point forward after a shuffle in the pit stops. And Layton and Ward continue to battle out there on the racetrack. Now, a couple of weeks ago, Gary Layton ran at Michigan.
Well, Gary Layton does have one big change this week. It's on his crew. Last week he was running an ARCA race. His spotter didn't see a wreck ahead of him, and as a result, he went right into it. So this week, guess what? He's got a new spotter. But they didn't have to go very far to find him. That guy up there is David F. That's his crew chief. Today he's doing double duty as a spotter.
Well, folks, I don't know if you saw that race, but basically what happened, the crew came in for a pit stop, and they had a problem. The jack would not fit under the race car, so they had a very long pit stop, which put Gary Layton way in the back of the pack, and then there was an accident happened out on the racetrack, and he got caught up in it, and David If took a lot of that responsibility. He said, you know, it was our fault that we had a bad pit stop, put him in a bad situation on the racetrack, because he had a car that could run up front.
All right, we just had a good look there at Jay Fogelman, who's doing a terrific job. This is the first time he's run one of these races, and he's really doing a nice job. He's run up near the front. He's running the top 10 most of the day.
David Craddock in the Semsco car down to the inside, and here comes Chad Chaffin as he is still working his way through the traffic there. The sights that he's got set on is trying to get around the number 96 car. Chaffin is running in 7th place, and Larry, that car definitely not running like it was.
Well, yeah, he's doing a great job to hang on to 7th spot with a blistered left side tire. You can see that thing is just skating around all over the racetrack. He's stalling the wheel every time he goes through the corner, but still running pretty doggone fast. He doesn't want to give up that track position, hoping that a yellow will come out and enable him to go on and gain some more position.
Can Gary Layton or Marty Ward catch Mario Goslin? Well, we'll find out. More of the Miller Lite 250 after this. The racing continues in the Miller Lite 250 at Orange County Speedway. A good battle going on the racetrack for second place as Gary Layton and Marty Ward continue to fight it out. Not much lap traffic right here, and it doesn't appear, Larry, that Marty has a good line on figuring a way around Layton.
Well, he's followed him for a lot of laps. Layton's running pretty fast up there, and Marty just hasn't found a way to get around him yet. And I think until they get into lap traffic and he figures something out, he is going to have trouble. Right now, though, you can see that Mario Goslin is coming up on Chad Chaffin. Chad Chaffin desperately does not want to go a lap down. He is hoping and praying that that yellow flag is going to come out very, very quickly as we take a look at the top 5 up there. And we see that Chad Chaffin running in 8th. So Mario Goslin has lapped everybody up through the 8th place car.
Yeah, I had said earlier that there were only 7 cars on the lead lap, but I stand corrected there. There are 8 at this point because Chad Chaffin is hanging on for dear life on the tail of the lead lap here, but Mario Goslin has caught him. Now we'll see if he can pass him.
He caught it pretty quickly. That's Scott Riggs right in front of him, too. So he's caught both of those guys. They're battling for position. As we take a look back for the battle for second place. Ooh, Layton gets a little bit wide right there, but Marty Ward could not sneak under him. I thought he had enough opening, but Layton's running fast enough, even when he gets a little wide on the racetrack, and Marty Ward can't do anything with him.
It was very great to see Marty Ward picking up that victory a few weeks ago at Peach State Speedway, a very emotional win for their... Oh, and a car is sideways right in front of those drivers as Layton went way to the inside. Russ Galindo in the number 99 car has looped it once again over there in turn number 2, just about right on the 2 on the wall there, so about the same spot as earlier.
And Chad Chapin's going to send him a Christmas card for bringing out that yellow for him.
So Chapin hangs on, and the yellow comes out, which brings out the pace car onto the track, so Chad Chapin stays in the lead lap. Now, will he go in and pit? Earlier, Rick DeBrule talked with Tom Perkins. They said they would love to get in and change those right side tires.
Well, he said that they had a blistered left side tire, and they wanted to go in and change it, so I would expect him to go in, but right now it doesn't appear that he's made any notion that he's going to do that.
Well, he's gone to the inside here, Larry, but the leader is the one that sets the pace here with the pace car, and we'll see if Chad Chapin can get up there and make this pit stop. You want to do it from as close to the front of the pack as possible if you can get up there so that you don't lose a lap while you're sitting in the pits.
Well, I think the question is right now, how long is the yellow going to be? Of course, the 99 car of Russ Galindo got going right away, so he's afraid it might only be a 1 or 2 lap yellow. He doesn't want to get caught in there, so maybe that's why he's waiting right now.
Doc McKinney to the inside. You see Brad May continues out there. May had a good run in the first part of this race, but not so good right now. Goslin continues to be your leader. We'll update you on the pit stops when we come back to Orange County. Some cars are headed to the pits, so we'll go back down to Rick DeBrule.
Bugs Harefield brings number 04 in. This is the break that he was waiting for. He worked so hard to get back up on the lead lap. Now the crew, who is really tired after the week they've had, go to work changing the tires on the right-hand side. They're going to get them back out, and they'll be ready to go. So Bugs can go back up and do battle and end up with a pretty good place in this race.
Boy, what a difference fresh tires might make for Bugs Harefield.
Well, fresh tires are going to be a big difference for anybody in this racetrack. That's why I'm surprised that Chad Chapin did not come in right away, right as soon as this thing happens, so he can get back out and get out in that outside on that lead lap. But he's waited, and maybe there's some strategy behind that.
A couple of cars being held up there at the end of pit road by the stop-and-go guy as the pace car came by, so they lost a lap. Now Chapin has made it to the pit area. Let's go down to Rick DeBrule, who's standing with him.
But Chad Chapin didn't like the way the car was working, and so they're going to go ahead and take advantage of this pit stop. They're putting in fuel, but more importantly, they're putting tires on the right-hand side. They're making an adjustment on the back end, tweaking the suspension a little bit. As a result, hopefully he'll have the car that he wants for the last 20 laps of this race. This could be the break he was looking for.
Boy, that's a major chassis adjustment they made to the right rear.
Boy, they certainly did. They were cranking all sorts of weight in that thing back there, you can tell. And, you know, I'm surprised a little earlier they said he had a blistered left side tire. Obviously, they meant a right side tire because they changed the right side tires on that car. And if that was the problem, it's a wonder he could run as fast as he was.
Well, no pit stops for this guy. Mario Goslin has been the leader since lap 122, and he continues to stay out front. We're under the yellow flag here. The 74 car of Gary Layton will be right on the bumper of Mario Goslin when we go back to green flag racing. Now, Chad Chapin's car has come back onto pit road, so evidently still a problem.
Chad Chapin comes in. Apparently, he has lost the left front tire. You see it. It just came off on pit row. It was not put on properly as a result. It came off literally on pit row. As we can see, look down the pit lane. It does not look like it hit anybody. The crew is going to go to work. Takes a while to get inside the car, to get underneath the car, so they can go ahead and put a wheel on. Apparently, he went out so quickly, they just didn't properly put on the left front tire. It was not properly connected. He was going down pit lane. We looked up left pit lane. Suddenly, we saw his car literally jumping into the air as it was rolling over his own tire. Now they're going to go and put another another tire on, a different tire. Apparently they're having problems getting it to connect up. Now, Chad Chapin has to be frustrated. He thought that this was the day he was going to do so well. Hopefully maybe make up a little more ground on Mario Gosselin. But instead, he's been slowly but surely drifting back. And he thought this pit stop would help him out a little bit. Obviously, that first pit stop, they made the change. They didn't quite have the tire on all the way. The other question is whether there was any damage done underneath there. It looks like it's just body damage, but hopefully nothing more. Once again, Chad Chapin sits in the car, and he's almost, nope, he's going to go a lap down. He almost was able to make it out, but the official stopped him, and the field is going to go by, and he's going to lose a lap.
Larry, what I think might have happened there was that they attempted, or at least the tire changer thought they were going to attempt a 4-tire stop when they really were only doing a 2-tire, send them back out on the track, come back in, but they had loosened that left front lug nut.
Well, I think you're probably right. They'd already gone around and loosened them. They saw they were going to lose a lap, so they sent him back out to make another lap, and he didn't make it around before the left front came off. And then when they came back in, tried to re-put a tire on there, you know, they had all sorts of problems. It took them a long, long time. He lost one. I think maybe he lost 2 laps, to be quite honest.
Chad Chapin had a great race car at the start of this race. His goal was to finish ahead of Mario Gosselin any way possible, and that goal has been shot full of holes right now as they are a lap down to the leader, who, by the way, happens to be the point leader, Mario Gosselin.
Yeah, Mario Gosselin's got things well in command. I tell you, though, the car of Layton and Marty Ward still have a chance. If they nobody came in, I'm surprised that some of the guys like Vogelman didn't come in, make some adjustments, try to gain a little speed, get a shot at the lead.
Well, pit stops have been the rule of the day today. They've been great for some drivers and very bad for others. Back in a moment. Well, 16 laps remain here in the Miller Lite 250 as Wyatt Gibson throws the green flag. We're back underway. Terrible circumstances for Chad Chapin, as he had a good race car tonight, but is in trouble. But here's a battle for the lead as Gary Layton takes a look to the inside.
Gary Layton down on the inside of Mario Gosselin. Boy, he looked like he was going to just kind of muscle his way in there. Gosselin had the run off the corner, though, and kept on going. But I tell you, he knew that Layton was there, and he got his attention, believe me. 3 drivers have dominated this series so far, and all 3 of them are in the top 3 positions. Marty Ward now taking a look to the inside of Gary Layton. The Tampico Citrus Punch cars to the outside. Here goes the Hooters Chevrolet down to the inside. Boy, he made that look easy. He just did that all in one corner. He's been trying for the last 30 laps to get around him. As soon as he got the tires cooled off, he just pulled to the inside and motored on around him. Now the question is, can he catch up with Gosselin and do the same thing with him before the tires get heated up?
We thought Gary Layton was going to be able to give some pressure to Mario Gosselin, but he drops back from 2nd to 3rd. Here comes Marty Ward. All 3 of these drivers have had a very competitive season, but Mario Gosselin has dominated, at least in the points so far this year. Can he win again tonight here at Orange County?
Well, Marty Ward's going to put a little pressure on him. He's gotten within about 3 or 4 car lengths. Doesn't seem to have been able to gain much after that, as Tim Edwards now moving in on Gary Layton, so he's going to put a little pressure on him.
2 wins this season for Chad Chapin. He's out of the running tonight. 3 wins this season for Mario Gosselin, and Marty Ward with 1 victory. Can he catch Gosselin and make the pass? The laps are winding down. We're near 10 laps to go.
You can see that that gap is staying pretty consistent as we see Jerry Rector now on the inside of the racetrack, and he's obviously got some big problems. He's going to be pulling into the pit.
Rector off the pace in the Reds Grill number 77, so he will drop out, and attrition starting to become a factor here in the last 10 laps of the race.
Well, he's gaining a little bit of ground on him. He's closing. Oh, we got a car coming in the pit smoking like crazy.
Looked like Jack Morace there. So, oh, and look, here's Chad Chapin again off of the pace and heading to the pit road. Terrible luck this evening here at Orange County Speedway for Chad Chapin, who had hoped to make a run in the points race. Let's go to Rick.
Chad Chapin brings his car in, and you can see the smoke coming out from underneath the hood. The crew's going to go to work, but I got to tell you, it doesn't look good at this point. After a night where things were going so well early on, the first 125 laps, he was in such control. And then that second half, the car wasn't right. He just wasn't able to compete the way he wanted. And now he's going to climb out of the car. His night is done. Chad Chapin is
told us that he could possibly chase down Mario Goslin for the championship. Well, I think he's going to change his mind now.
Well, it's going to be a tough road to hoe now because losing this many points this late in the race. Not a lot of cars have fallen out of this race, so it's going to be very difficult to make a comeback from a disaster like this.
4 events remain in the 1997 season. We'll go to USA International Speedway, the Milwaukee Mile, South Boston, and then close it back up in Lakeland, Florida. So 4 events to go. It could happen, but I doubt it.
Mario Goslin got very, very loose the last time around. Let's see now. Marty Ward's catching him. But right now, let's go down to Rick DeBrule. He's caught up with Chad Chapman and see what happened to him.
Yeah, this has to be a really frustrating night. What finally did it?
Well, we messed up on the tire strategy, and we was going to change the left side front to back, and we went out with the lug nuts loose. Just a miscommunication. But then the officials, for some reason, decided we had put on too many tires. After 2 laps, they decided it was okay. It was a marked tire. While we were sitting there, the motor overheated and blew up. So it cost us a motor.
Gotta be frustrated.
I'm very frustrated.
Oh boy, Larry, you won $1,000 for winning the pole, another grand for leading it halfway, but that's not going to ease the pain of losing an engine.
No, it's not. And he had a fast race car. I think they made a little mistake when they changed the tires, didn't get the stagger quite right, and boy, he paid for it dearly after that by having to go back in the pits and make another pit stop. And like you said, had to sit there and cook the engine while they're sitting in the pit area.
And the worst part about it is, as you said, not that many cars have fallen out of the race tonight, so Chapman is going to be at least 20th in the finish order, probably further back than that.
Okay, they're getting a 2 laps to go signal as Mario Goslin pulled away from second place. Marty Ward's hanging on, but he has dropped back 3 or 4 car lengths over the last couple of laps. So Mario Goslin looks like he's well in command going into the last lap.
The white flag is out. 650-some laps this guy has led in 1997, including tonight's race. Marty Ward, if he can able to be hold on, will get second place tonight. Gary Layton will get third. A good run for Mario Goslin. Good pit strategy. Helped out the Jackaroo Chevrolet, and he picks up his 4th win of 1997.
Yes, he ran the last 144 laps on those tires. He pitted on the 106 laps to put on his tires, so obviously he knew what he wanted to do. He carried out the strategy very well. Marty Ward was very, very fast that second half of this race. Once he made his pit stop, and it looked like he had something for him, but about 3 laps to go, I think maybe Mario Goslin just reached down a little deeper and got going.
Well, the first couple races of the season were disastrous for Marty Ward, so he's really not a contender in the points chase right now, but they got to be happy with getting that program turned back around. Well, Mario Goslin will be climbing out of the Jackaroo Chevrolet. He is the winner tonight here on the Bull Ring at Orange County Speedway. You've been watching the Miller Lite 250. When we come back, the finish results and a whole lot more, so don't go away. Welcome back to Rougemont, North Carolina and the Orange County Speedway. Tonight's Miller Lite 250 has been brought to you by Hooters Restaurants. They're delightfully tacky, yet unrefined. And by Jackaroo Barbecue Sauce. If you've got regular barbecue sauce, you ain't got Jack. And by Naturally Fresh, Pure Spring Mountain Water. It's naturally refreshing.
Well, you can take a look at the top 5. Jay Fogelman did a nice job coming in 5th place. Tim Edwards did a good job all night long. Bugs Harefield in 6th. Scott Riggs, Gene Morgan, Charlie Ford, and on down the rest of the top 10.
Derek Countryman there in the 33 car. Tim Clayton. See Lester Lesneski off the pace a bit tonight in the 6 car, finishes 19th. Chet Chester, Jimmy McLean, Brad May back in 25th. And a couple of the cars that were out of the race, Tissick, Goff, and Potashnik finishing 30th.
Well, there you can see Mario Goslin. He's a very happy and tired guy. We told you this was a physically demanding race. You see him hang his tongue out there? She's a tough night for him.
Let's get down to Rick DeBrule, who's standing by with the winner of the Miller Lite 250.
Well, Mario, my thumb's cramping up.
Well, Mario, before the race, we were talking about how you hoped you'd gotten all your bad luck out of the way in the last 2 races. Boy, you sure did.
Boy, I'm telling you what, you're lucky, because me and you've been rolling in the grass. You know that, don't you?
You thought I was your jinx for a while there. All right, talk about this race.
Oh, man, you know, I got to thank Jackaroo Steakhouse, Jackaroo Meat Sauce, Hooters, USAR, this series, letting us get out here and race, get some TV coverage. This is great.
First half of the race, you were just running behind Chad Chaffin. Didn't seem like you were going to be able to get by him.
Man, this thing was so loose. That's why we pitted early, really. We were like hanging on, going around dirt style. And crew chief and I talked about it. We had a lot of new guys doing pit stops. A lot of my guys couldn't come. Middle of the year like this, and I can't afford to pay them guys what I should. And some of them couldn't make it anyhow. I was a little worried, so I said, we're just gonna make a 2-tire stop. They got done with the 2 rights, and my spotter hadn't said halfway, for the pace car, and I'm like, do lefts. It's too late, man, we're not ready. So we came back and did lefts and made stagger adjustment, and Jackaroo Steakhouse meat sauce car just came alive. This thing was great.
You had Marty Ward coming at you at the end there. Did you think he was gonna get you?
Well, one thing about Marty and I, we always race each other real clean. I knew if he passed me, it was gonna be clean. And it must have been the way I was driving. For a couple laps, he was right behind me, and I was loose. Then I calmed down, and I moved up a little bit. And, man, the thing was great.
Back in the saddle again?
Yeah, man.
Well, Mario Goslin was never too far out of the saddle this season, but one driver who's really made a comeback is Marty Ward, and he's standing by with Rick.
Well, let's talk about your day. That was one of the hardest fought second place you've had in a while.
Yeah, we had a pretty good time for a while. The car was a little loose start the race, and we chased the skipping problem all day long. Thought we had to stop for the race, and by halfway through the race, started skipping. But it kind of helped to get off the corner skipping because it wouldn't spin the rear tires in, so I thought I was in pretty good shape. And I was trying to save up something for Mario there after I caught him there with about 3 to go, and then me and the lap car got together and got me out of shape and lost my ground. So
I was going to say, how frustrating was that lap traffic for you?
It was kind of bad, like I say. It's not as bad as it's been, so you can't really do a whole lot of complaining about it. Like I say, it's a good deal tonight.
How many more laps would it have taken you to catch up to Mario?
Well, if I could have had one more caution, I might could put that Hooter Chevrolet up there. Like I say, I kept struggling trying to get by cars, and it'd take me a lap or 2 after I got by a car to cool the tires back off where I'd have something to go. And got by the 74 car, I didn't have time to cool them back down to give him a run. So it might have took another 5 or 6 laps and let me cool them back down. I might could have been there.
But considering the way the season's gone?
Oh, we're happy to leave here seconds in one piece.
Gary Layton from Albemarle, North Carolina in the Tampico Citrus Punch number 74 will finish 3rd. He gave him a good run, but Marty Ward was able to get by him and finish 2nd tonight. Now here's how the points will chase out. Mario Goslin will lead here with the lead. Chaffin will be 250 back and Layton 260. Is it an unsurmountable mountain to challenge? Well, there's 4 races left in the 1997 season. Chase to the title. Can Chad Chaffin get back on track and give a run to Mario Goslin? You'll find out over the course of the next few weeks right here on ESPN2.
Well, Chad Chaffin has got a big mountain to climb because Mario Goslin has not made very many mistakes. That car has run exceptionally well. He hasn't gotten in a lot of these crashes like some of the other drivers. So when you've got that element of luck going with you as well as a great mechanic and a great crew, it's very, very tough to beat a guy with that kind of a lead.
Gene Morgan and Tim Edwards came together earlier in the race tonight. The first car we just saw out was Len Goff. Hard contact in the front wall, but overall a clean and green race here tonight at Orange County Speedway in Rougemont, North Carolina. Mario Goslin in the Jackaroo number 10 has gone to victory lane for the 4th time in 1997. Can either of these 2 drivers challenge for the lead? Well, we'll have to wait to find out.
Right now, these 3 cars on your screen, along with Chad Chaffin, are the cars to beat. Mario Goslin's been the man up front most of the year, along with Chad Chaffin. Gary Layton's had a great year. Marty Ward has come on strong in the last couple of races. The next 4 or 5 races are going to make a big difference. I still think that guy right there has got a big advantage, and it's going to be tough to beat him.
Chad Chaffin had an opportunity tonight, was not able to capitalize, and he loses valuable points tonight here at Orange County Speedway. And Mario Goslin sets himself up in pretty good position. Not a bad place where he's at right now, down in victory lane with the Hooters girls enjoying the savor of victory here tonight at Orange County Speedway, and takes home that $10,000 first place prize. That's a pretty nice check to carry home with you. He's done it 4 times in 1997.
The next race will be at USA International Speedway in Lakeland, Florida. Hope you'll all come down there and join us as Mario Goslin will try again to lengthen his points lead in the USAR Pro Cup Series.
Well, if you're not able to join us, you can check it out right here on ESPN2. We have 4 events remaining. Mario Goslin continues to celebrate the win tonight at Orange County Speedway. Thanks for joining us. For Larry Rice and Rick DeBrule, I'm Ray Dunlap. This has been a production of ESPN. We are the worldwide leader in sport.